And welcome back to College Football Tradition on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. My name is Bryan Partika. I'm joined alongside my bro host and co-host Jacob Vanderford.
What
And we
up?
are joined today by Dr. Esty Hernandez, a Florida State alum, a Baylor alum, and she is here to talk about the ACC. If you know she's here, you know we're talking ACC. We have our Conference USA preview first, and then we'll get into our ACC football preview. Dr. Esty Hernandez, how you doing?
I am very tired, as are y'all, because it is the busiest time of the year. But I'm happy to be here.
The doc is in the house.
Dog.
Somebody fill your prescription because Estee's here. Let's go.
I cannot do that. Do not say that. I will get sued.
Not that type of doctor.
Not that kind of doctor.
Not that kind of
Not a
doctor,
physician.
no.
Not a physician. No.
But as we get into this, we're going to start with Conference USA today. So I want to hear, Esty, feel free. I know we invited you on mainly to talk about ACC and Florida State. But Philip, Jacob, we want to talk to you first. Who are some of the teams in CUSA that you're not so high on going into this year?
CUSA. I thought you were gonna say like Syracuse, and I was like, oh, we're going ACC. All right. Yeah, Conference USA. Let's go. So as you all know, Bryan and I made some like schedules and predictions for the year for each conference. So we're going to talk a little bit about like our teams that we think might not do so well this year, teams that we think will overachieve and do really well this year. So I'm really high on Liberty. I think they have always been a stacked team going back to not years ago, a couple years ago. They had Hugh Freeze at head coach. He's now at Auburn. But Caden Salter, who just transferred over to Colorado, was their quarterback last year. They had a great year last year. I have them going undefeated this year, which they may slip up a couple times, but just looking at their schedule, like their first four games, I think the only game that I could see them maybe losing is like Bowling Green in their first four games. And the rest of them, I'm just like, like they're gonna beat them all, I think. And I'm sorry to all the teams that they play, but I think that's how it's gonna go. A team that I think may not do so well this year. I'm looking at like Missouri State and New Mexico State. They play a lot of teams that are outside their conference, specifically Missouri State playing USC, SMU, playing a lot of teams and in a new conference. It may just be a tough year for the Bears of Springfield. But those are some of my teams that I'm looking at. And some players that I think will do well this year. I'm looking at Keon Jenkins, quarterback. He's a junior, Florida International University. He had over 5,000 yards passing over the past 2 years, which is pretty good, and 33 touchdown passes with 8 touchdown runs. So he is predicted to be the Conference USA Offensive Player of the Year. And then I'll highlight Tyler Martinez from New Mexico State. I know I said I didn't think that their team was going to do too well, but he's a senior linebacker coming in, had 96 tackles last year. It's going to be a strong point for that New Mexico State defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I think New Mexico is one of those teams that I think defensively in CUSA could be stellar. I don't see a lot of offensive power in the Conference USA, but one team that I really like is Western Kentucky. You have Ty Helton. He's in his 7th year with Western Kentucky. I mean, just a staple of the group of 5 in industry. So he's been there a while. Couple coordinator changes. He's only returning 2 starters from last year because they had 37 guys transfer out and 43 transfer in. I mean, they're just shuffling through them over in Bowling Green, Kentucky. So basically half the roster has been overturned. However, they have a lot of offensive power. They have quarterback Maverick McElver. He threw for 3,800 yards at Abilene Christian last year. A couple good receivers coming in. From Charlotte, they have 2 guys. And then they have a Western Illinois, Matthew Henry. He had 18.9 yards per catch last year. And you know that Western Kentucky, as we talked about it, Jacob, on our QBU episode the other day, they just turn out quarterbacks. They just are always slinging the ball around the field. And in Conference USA, you could do that because this isn't a high prolific defensive conference. And it's one, if you have a good offense, you'll be able to at least get 5 conference wins just off of that alone.
Yeah, and I'll just say too, we sort of talked about Liberty earlier on. I'm just checking in on this preseason Conference USA top 25 players preseason rankings. Liberty has 6 players within this top 25, far more than any of the other teams on the list. So if that tells you anything, I think they're going to be pretty good this year as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they will for sure. The newcomers coming in, Delaware, they return a lot of production from last year's team, although last year's team wasn't anything to ride home about. And then you had Missouri State. They had a decent team last year, and they also return a lot of production from the FCS level. And you know they're coming from the Missouri Valley Football Conference, which is the top FCS conference. And they were a decent program in that conference. They were consistently in the middle tier of it behind the Dakota schools, sometimes behind Youngstown State, but they were in the running for a lot of years of that, and they were able to rack up a couple good recruiting wins. I think that they're a team that, if they were bowl eligible this year, that they would go bowling. I have them going 6-6, better than I
I
have
know.
Delaware. I have Delaware only winning probably 3 or 4 games this year. Looking at that schedule, I think they'll get Delaware State, but I don't have them beating Colorado or UConn or Wake Forest out of conference. I just don't think that Delaware is going to do that this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think Delaware they'll win a few games, but yeah, just looking at that schedule, they've got Liberty, they got Wake Forest, Colorado, UConn. Like those are all teams that I think are going to be pretty high in the win column this year. So I agree with you on Delaware. Jacksonville State, I have them sort of middle of the pack. I have them going 7-5. Kennesaw State, I have 3-9. Um, let's see, UTEP 8-4, got them going bowling this year. They'll lose to Texas, Liberty, and a few of the other teams on their schedule that they'll slip up against. But yeah, that's what I've got so far. I also have Sam Houston going 1-11, which is like really sad. I'm sorry, Sam Houston fans. But hey, I could be proven wrong.
Yeah, I mean, we could see. A team that is high on a lot of message boards I'm seeing is Sam Houston State. They were able to be, they were pretty decent last year. However, they're turning over pretty much everything on the defense. Only 4 Bearcat defenders from last year saw more than 110 snaps in FBS football. So they are
Yikes.
completely young and raw this upcoming year. So I think that they're going to be a team that I think people are high on, but isn't going to exactly live up to the build. I do have them going to the Conference USA championship game, but only with 7 wins total. I have them going 7-5, 7-1 in the conference, so losing all their non-con games, and that does include Hawaii. And then I just have them losing to Liberty. But I don't know about Liberty. You know, when I look at that schedule, no power conference opponents, no big time games. They're playing a lot of schools that moved up from the FCS recently. I mean, it's one of the easier schedules in college football, if not the easiest schedule in college football. If they go undefeated, don't be surprised if they still get left out of this college football playoff field.
I love looking at both of our schedules and our picks and just like how starkly contrasted it is. Like I one of us is gonna do really well this year and one isn't. And I feel
Yeah,
like it's gonna be me, but we'll see.
we will totally see. Yeah, so Conference USA one probably the worst FBS conference going into this year, the one that I'm lowest on, even though Liberty is a team that's returning a lot of talent. I'm not sure where those other programs are going to fall.
There's just a lot of unknowns in Conference USA this year. 2 new teams, a lot of transfers going in the transfer portal, production leaving, NFL draft. There's just a lot of things that you're like, I don't, there's a lot of question marks on these teams. So it really is just sort of a wait and see, see how the teams fare. And we'll check in on this conference as the year goes along and see how they do.
Yeah, we absolutely will. It'll be very interesting to see that race late in the year. I think that race for whoever's going to be playing against Liberty in the conference championship is going to be exciting because it's going to be a team that has a lot of losses. I just
Yeah.
don't see it being like even an 8-4 team. I could see it being a 7-5, 6-6 squad overall that makes it to there. All right, so that's Conference USA. Anything else on CUSA, guys?
No, SC, you got anything? No,
Thanks,
No.
real,
Red.
real.
Well, that is completely fine because we are going to move over to what was formerly known as the Conference of Quarterbacks, and that is the ACC. Last
Woo!
year, SMU, the newcomer, went undefeated in ACC play before falling to Clemson in Charlotte in the conference championship game. Obviously, they still made it to the college football playoff where they got handled in Happy Valley to Penn State. Then you had Clemson. They won Conference USA despite losing their final regular season game to South Carolina. But they were able to win the conference, earn the automatic berth. They lost to Texas in the first round in probably what was the most competitive first round college football playoff game, but they returned the most talent in college football. They returned Cade Klubnik, one of the best returning starting quarterbacks in the conference, a plethora of talent on defense. They have some solid wide receivers, which they haven't had in a couple of years. Jacob, Esty, what is your take on the top of this league?
I'll have Esty go first.
I haven't really been following college football this summer because I've been very busy. And
Real.
also, college football doesn't matter when Florida State isn't doing well.
Ooh,
Um, and
I need a Florida State rant. Let's
do
go.
it. Let's hear it. I want to hear about the
no,
Florida State rant.
no.
We're talking about a team that went
Um,
13-0
so
2 years ago, and
I
last
just
year
hope Florida
two
State goes
wins.
7-5. That's all.
Talk about Mike Norvell. Let's go. Let's get into it.
I have a picture of me and Mike Norvell on my nightstand. Um,
Oh,
from a booster event. I really wanted him to do well. I still want him to do well, but I am,
he did well that first year, right?
yeah, just kind of unraveled
Jordan
when he lost
Travis.
the team. Yeah. I we didn't really have a spring football season because we had a lot of injuries. The reports in fall training have been fa I don't want to say favorable, but better than they could have been. So I'm hopeful for a plus 500 season.
Heck yeah.
What do you think it takes to keep Norvell's job alive in Tallahassee?
7-5 with a bowl win. Um,
Hey.
I think if we look competitive against our ACC foes, it will be okay. Not expecting to look competitive unless against Alabama, much to our quarterback's chagrin. But I think if we can remain competitive or maybe even steal a win from Miami or Clemson, I don't think it'll be Clemson. I think it'll be Miami. But if we can do that, then I think it'll be okay as long as he doesn't lose the team.
Are there any players coming in for Florida State that you're excited about that like, maybe weren't there last year, or are there any like X factors that you're looking at?
I'm really hopeful that Tommy works out.
Yes.
He has to remember that he was brought to run, to rush, and not to talk about um, improving his throwing game.
Yeah.
That's not why he was brought here for a Malzahn offense. But so I'm hopeful for him. I'm interested to see what our defensive line looks like, seeing as it was not good last year. Some of our players that have done well in the past have not been spoken by favorably by Tony White, or rather, he hasn't like mentioned them in um, during pressers. So we'll see. Um,
Former Nebraska defensive coordinator.
yes, I know who he is. Um, but again, like I haven't been as attentive as I usually am, mostly because we were so hopeful last year and then everything tanked very quickly. So I find that just kind of like dipping my toe is helpful.
I don't know. I'm really hopeful. And definitely I feel like Florida State's roster is really promising. Like you talked about Tommy Castellanos coming in, like great year with Boston College last year. A lot of people compared him to Kyler Murray, which I totally see those comparisons. So I'm really excited for that. Gus Malzahn coming in, just gonna totally rework that offense. Tony White on defense, really stout Nebraska defensive line last year. So I don't know. No, I'm definitely I think Florida State can make some noise this year.
Well, I'm curious about in game because I mean, in practice, it's one thing, but it's another thing to be like a close game in the fourth quarter and whether or not Norvell will actually let Malzahn run his offense or if
Yeah.
he's going to be more heavy-handed as he has been in the offense as far as the scheming. So we'll see because it's hard to replicate that in practice. Um, so that's what I'm going to be attentive to actually.
What teams do you think will cause Florida State the most problems this year?
Um, I've been hearing Pitt should be kind of scary. We're playing at Pitt, if I'm not mistaken. So that
I
could
think you
be that's
guys
like a
get to
sneaky
host.
game.
Yeah.
Huh?
I think you guys get to host them this year, but I'm so glad you brought up Pitt because that is I would hate to have Pitt on my schedule if I was any team in the country. They are just one of those teams that like love to lose important games to them, but love to
Yeah.
beat important games to other people. But I digress.
Yeah, it's just a trap game. Pitt's
Yeah.
always a trap. Because they're not very good. So that's really what I'm going like I would say that that's like the next most difficult game apart from your obvious like Bama, Clemson, Miami. So
Did Pitt bring back Eli Holstein, Brian?
Yeah, he's back. As far as
Okay.
returning quarterbacks go in the ACC, I mean, I obviously like Cade Klubnik the most, but I love Miller Moss transferring to Louisville. I love Darian Mensa transferring to Duke. But then Eli Holstein, he's my next guy there. You can make the argument for Kevin Jennings at SMU, but I really like Holstein. I think he's an accurate passer. I don't think that Pitt has a ton of talented wide receivers. Who's their one return guy? He was preseason All American, I believe, all purpose player, but he's kind of their utility weapon on offense too. And I think they're going to utilize him a lot. But outside of that, I just don't know if the talent is there for Pitt to be like a contender in the ACC. And then I think the schedule's pretty tough too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I'm really high on Georgia Tech too this year. Last year they made a lot of noise. Obviously that first game of the year against Florida State when Florida State
thanks.
was ranked. And then playing Georgia at the end of the year and going, what was it, like 5 or 6 overtimes? I don't know.
It was 8.
Was
Eight
it eight?
overtimes. The game was bananas.
Oh my God. Yeah, I think they're going to be really good this year. I really like Haynes King. I think he's a dark horse Heisman candidate. Uh, I talked about it in previous podcasts, but Eric Singleton leaving will be tough, but I think they'll bring in enough weapons to be able to have a good season. And I only have them losing to Clemson and Georgia this year. I have them winning the rest of their games. I think off the bat at Colorado will be tough playing Deion Sanders in Boulder. But I mean, the only other slip up game could be Pitt, which we kind of talked about, or at Duke, I think as well.
Yeah, at Duke, I have them losing. NC State's another tough opponent, I think, as well. But speaking on the ACC as a whole, I mean, I think the bottom of this league is going to be pretty bad. I think Wake Forest is going to be bad. I think
Yeah. New
everybody's
head
looking at
coach, Jake
they
Dickert.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he's been around. He's been a couple different places. And he's had success, but coming into what they have going on right now, I don't love it. They don't
Yeah.
return enough talent on the offense, I think, to compete with some of the defensive lines that are going up. So I think this Wake Forest offensive line is going to struggle. People are looking at Stanford as a team that's just going to struggle all the way around. They
Oh
are
yeah.
starting a sixth-year quarterback this year. They did just announce that. I think that's the right person to lead this team. But I just think with all the travel, you do have to play
Yeah.
SMU, Florida State, Miami, Pitt, North Carolina, Notre Dame. I just think that this schedule doesn't set up for them. I have them only winning 3 games. I think
Same.
California, Syracuse is going to take a step back as well. People are looking at Virginia and Virginia Tech as teams that are going to struggle, but I don't think so. They are the only 2 ACC teams that don't play a playoff team from last year. I think the schedules work out for them to get to bowl games.
Word.
Word.
I don't know. I'm curious about Miami too. I don't know. Like, they could have a good season. They also couldn't. Bringing in Carson Beck last year from Georgia, I have question marks about Carson Beck. I mean, he was able to lead a really, really great Georgia team. Will he be able to do the same with Miami? I don't know. I think they lose right out of the gate against Notre Dame. They certainly could lose to Florida. They certainly could lose at Florida State. They could lose at Louisville against Miller Moss. Like, I have them losing to SMU on the schedule too, but it really could for the Hurricanes be either a 10-2 season or a 5-7, 6-6. Yeah, you never know.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I think Carson Beck, I mean, he's going to have to win over the locker room because a lot of reports out of Georgia were that he lost the team late in the year. And obviously, he had a lot of turnovers last year comparatively to what we were expecting. But I think that Miami team is still one of the more talented, like Florida State. Like at the end of the day, Florida State and Miami, they have two of the more talented rosters in the ACC. It's just like when you look at Ohio State, who's returning a ton of talent in the Big Ten. They are not returning a ton of talent from last year's squad in the Big Ten, but they still recruited so well that they are the most talented composite team. Or TCU in the Big 12. Like a lot of people aren't looking at them, but talent wise is still pretty talented. So Miami's in that boat as well. And Mario Cristobal, he's been there a minute now. And you have a lot of prove it games and a lot of prove it moments, and it opens up at home against the reigning, national runner up.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think Carson Beck's health is a question mark, especially because I do feel that they often put players in positions to play even when they're not completely healthy.
Mhm.
And so I find that really troublesome, especially for Beck, since he did close the year out with an injury. And Cristobal is not really known for making great in-game decisions. So I mean, he's a great recruiter. I
Yeah.
think he's one of the best. It's just a matter of in-game coaching, especially when things are really tight. That I mean, I don't need to cite any examples of what could happen.
Yeah.
Like Jacob said, like it could be a really good season or a really terrible season, just on account of a few possessions.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, like, that begs the question, do we think Mario Cristobal is on the hot seat this year? Like, if they don't achieve a certain win total, bowl game win, whatever, like, is he out after this year?
I don't think he'd be out because last year they were just oh so close to making the playoff. If they just would have
True.
taken care of Syracuse at the end of the year, they would have been in. Um, so for me, I think I don't see him on the hot seat this year, but if he doesn't win at least 9 games, then the next year he would be on the hot seat. But I think he needs to go 9-3 this season, even against that schedule. I mean, the back half of it, you should be favored in every
Yeah.
single game. Maybe I'll be at Louisville, but yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I feel like Miami's one of those fan bases that's like they're really tough. Like there's only, several fan bases in the country where it's like if you don't win this many games, you're out. We hate you. Like, and I think Miami's one of those teams because they have so many championship berths and all these things like, and they haven't been there in a while. So,
Nope.
yeah, I'm wondering if they don't make the playoff again, if these fans are going to be itching.
Right. Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Another team that is kind of interesting for this year, I mean, we talked about them a little bit, but it's Louisville. I
Mhm.
really like what they're returning, and I really like Jeff Brom as a coach. They had a good year last year. I think that the schedule really plays out for them. They open up Eastern Kentucky, James Madison, Bowling Green. I think going into Pitt, they should be 3-0. They've had success against Pitt in recent memory, and I think outside of the Miami game, it's a stretch of a bunch of games that they should win with BC, VT, Cal. So I think that there's opportunity for stretches of victories, and then Kentucky's down. That always helps Louisville at the end of the year. Toughest game stretch is home against Clemson, then at SMU. But Louisville, I think, is one of those teams that returns a ton of talent, and they could be a team to watch out for.
Yeah, I think they can sneak into the ACC championship game. Like if we don't watch out, because I can totally see them winning out the entire. Like just depends on how the end of the season shakes out.
Yep.
What do you think? Like if what's like the magic number for Louisville to make the college football playoff? Because they haven't been for a while, or I mean, they haven't been at all. But I'm just curious, like what do you think? Like if they beat Clemson, are they in at 10-2? Like I don't know.
I, I think they have to win 10 games, and you have to have a victory over Miami, Clemson, or SMU. You have to win one of those games. I'm fine if you
Yeah.
lose one of them, but you have to beat one of them because one thing that we saw last year, like look at a team like Arizona State. They were 10-2, didn't have a lot of marquee victories, had questionable loss, and they were behind the eight ball going into the conference championship weekend. Obviously, the Big 12 championship was a play-in game, essentially for the fourth seed in the college football playoff. I could see that Louisville being in a similar spot here, especially when we're talking about we're going to talk about the SEC soon in a couple weeks here, about how many teams we think can make it out of that league.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I'm curious about North Carolina this year. Like this being Bill Belichick's first year coaching, head coaching in college football, and coming out of the gate playing TCU at home. There's going to be a lot of stuff going on over there with the hype and the media and all of that. I'm curious how many games that we think that they can win this year, just with the new coaching staff and new quarterback and just players across the board.
I think that Belichick's too good of a coach for them to not go bowling. I have them going
Yeah.
7-5. I think that TCU game will be a tough opener, but man, frogs keep getting, these marquee coaches to open up their season. Remember when they opened up
Yeah.
against Dion at home 2 years ago? But
Uh,
yeah, North Carolina, I think, is one of those teams that could surprise a lot of people this year. One of their guys, Davian Goss, he's a running back, sophomore. So this guy, I think, if the offensive line is clicking, if there's decent enough quarterback play and they don't have to rely completely on the run game, he's going to be able to break a couple open. Belichick's a good defensive coach. So even though I don't think that this is the most defensive powered team in the ACC, they're like middle of the road talent wise, in my opinion. I think that he's good enough to get them over the hump of whatever they need to get bowling, to get to 7, maybe even 8 or 9 wins if they play their cards right. The schedule isn't that difficult.
yeah, I was gonna
It's
say,
not
if you
that
look at
bad. I was gonna say.
Yeah.
the latter half of their schedule, it's like all teams that I have at the bottom half of the ACC: California, Virginia, Syracuse, Stanford, Wake Forest. They
All of
might
those.
at Duke, NC State. Like it's a easy schedule at the end of the year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm not as convinced about Belichick just because, I mean, I don't know. I mean, a pro style is very different. And so I don't know how it
Yeah,
will translate, right? And
that's
so
true.
I'm more just like, just wait and see mode.
I'm curious too, like a lot of coaches struggle when they transition from college to the NFL. And I'm
Right.
curious what the difference is from the NFL to college. Like, will that style of play, the way he's always done it, like with New England, towards the end of his career in New England, they were struggling massively after Tom Brady left. So like, will that continue at North Carolina? Will he be able to adapt to the college landscape? I'm curious.
Right.
Yeah. Lot
I'm just
lot of
not
question
convinced.
marks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still not convinced as well. As we talk about SMU, right down the road, um, Kevin Jennings struggled against Penn State, but overall had a pretty productive year, especially the later half of his first year. I feel like after the TCU victory, he really took off as a player, and they were able to really dominate a lot of ACC games. And I was really impressed with them and what that offense can do. What do we think about them going into this year? Um, a lot of high hopes over in Dallas.
Take it, SD.
They play at Clemson. Miami's their homecoming game. That's interesting.
Oh, is it really?
I think they have an okay schedule with the exception of the at Clemson and at TCU for that matter. By then we'll know what kind of team TCU has. So the schedule isn't terrible. I think they could go pretty deep this year also.
Yeah. I feel like with
Yeah.
Miami and Louisville, those could be tough games as well, but those are at
Mhm.
home.
Those
So
are at home.
Yeah.
like they have that advantage there. A lot of, and it's in the latter half of the year. So some of these teams could be sort of limping to the finish line if they have injuries or that kind of thing as well, fatigue. We'll see what SMU looks like towards the end of the year as well. But I think Miami and Louisville could be some games to look out for the Mustangs as well.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
will be a
and
team
I
that
will say that the fan base is bought in at SMU.
oh,
Yeah.
Like, the ACC move really has the fan base bought in. So we'll see.
yeah,
Yeah.
it really does. I mean, it definitely has those boosters bought in for sure. And I think if SMU is to be successful this year, PJ Williams, returning tackle, Logan Parr, returning guard, RJ Maryland, returning tight end. He's a senior now. So I
Forgot
think it's
about
going to
him.
rely heavily on a lot of those guys, get the run game going. Like that's something that I don't think that they were able to really establish in a lot of games last year. And they didn't have to,
They didn't
and
have
that was
to.
a good thing. And Jennings was able to run around a lot. But I think when you have some guys returning on your offensive line like they do, you have some decent returning front seven guys like Terry Webb, Jeffrey MBA. Like there's guys who are returning who I think could be all ACC players this upcoming year. I'm not that high on SMU just because of the schedule. I think that they could be slightly better than last year, but that schedule's tough. Having to take on Baylor and TCU in the beginning of the year, two teams that I'm looking at as Big 12, contenders, dark horses. I think that it could be a tough year ahead for SMU.
Well, you bring up a good point about RJ Maryland coming back. I mean, he was Kevin Jennings' top target for the beginning of the year before he got injured. So I'm curious to see if he comes out strong out of the gate. And I feel like he could have been an X factor for them in that playoff game against Penn State if he were sort of available and some of those other targets were available. So to their full capacity, I guess. So I'm excited to see what that duo can do. But I agree with you, Bryan. I think a lot of those games could definitely be tough, and we might see SMU slip just a tad from last year's playoff run.
Yeah, and I mean, last year when they made the playoffs, like a lot of people thought that they were absolutely horrendous against Penn State. In some facets of the game, they were. I don't think they've ever played in an environment like that. I can't remember the last time SMU football played in an environment like Happy Valley. They do go to Death Valley this year when they travel to
Yes.
Clemson in the middle of the year, and I think that that is going to be really the deciding game on where their ACC season is going. They got to beat one of either Baylor or TCU, though, to start the year. And then they also travel to Missouri State. Welcome to the FBS
Oh
Missouri
yeah.
State. You get to host SMU in week 3 of the college football season. That's going to be
Look at us. We really planned that mashup really well today. Missouri State, Conference USA, ACC. Like,
we did. That's
that
a
was
team you
totally
got to watch
planned.
out for.
Yeah.
I want to switch gears to Syracuse as well. Last year, their schedule was super easy, and I was really high on them. They ended up being a 10-win team when it was all said and done under Kyle McCord and Fran Brown as head coach. This year, schedule is tough.
So
They
bad.
have a neutral. There are two teams in the country that have to play 4 playoff teams from last year. One of them is Mississippi State. They play 4 playoff teams from last year, all at home, though. Syracuse plays 4 playoff teams from last year, all on the road. They have a
Oof.
neutral site game against Tennessee. They travel to Clemson, they travel to SMU, and they travel to Notre Dame, second to last week of the year. This schedule is tough. Tennessee, CFP, UConn, 9-win bowl team last year. Then they get Colgate, Clemson, CFP, Duke, 9-win bowl team, SMU, CFP, Pitt was a bowl team, Georgia Tech was a bowl team, North Carolina was a bowl team, Miami was a 10-win team, Notre Dame, national runner-up, and then Boston College to end the year. This is one of the toughest schedules I've ever seen. And the fact that's coming from the ACC is so impressive. They lose so much talent on offense. They lose their quarterback. They lose some defensive stars. I mean, I know Fran Brown's recruiting well, but I think that this year they take a step back. I don't have them going bowling.
Yeah, me neither. This is like this is a really bad schedule. I'm sorry, Orange fan, but like it's just not like the only games that you could potentially win are for sure Colgate, maybe Pittsburgh, maybe Boston College. But the rest of the games, I'm like maybe UConn and North Carolina potentially, but all these other teams are going to be ranked by the end of the year. They're all bowl teams. I'm pretty high on UConn, and I think that could be a good game for them as a stepping stone to beat a team like Syracuse and all that. And then playing Tennessee to start the year, like that is a really tough way to start your year. So yeah, I'm sorry, Orange, you're not gonna do well this year, but cheers to next year.
Cheers to the future.
Yeah.
Who haven't we hit on in the ACC? Boston
Uh,
College.
yeah, Boston College. We talked a little bit about Virginia and Virginia Tech, NC State, Wake Forest.
Yeah. Who's the
Talked about California.
who's starting for UVA this year? Is it
Well, their starter from last year, I think, transferred to UNLV.
Chandler Morris is now starting for Virginia?
Oh,
Yeah.
he is.
He
Okay.
Chandler
was
Morris is still in college? Okay.
Yeah,
yeah,
he's like
somehow.
seventh
Yeah.
year or something like
At TCU, UNT, UVA. He was one of the leading
Oklahoma, I think,
passers.
at one point.
He might have started his did he start his career at Oklahoma? I don't know. He was one of the leading passers in college football last year in terms of total yardage at UNT, the American and the Green Wave. Didn't have a bad year last year, and he makes the trek over to Virginia. So he's somebody, if they're taking on him, that they're going to be passing the ball, and they better be if he's at the helm.
Yeah.
Um, Man, anything about Boston College this upcoming year? I have them as a bowl team, but
I know. I don't even like who do they? I mean, they lost their quarterback to SC's Florida State squad.
yeah, they did. Yeah. Oh man, that
I don't know much about
BC
them.
to
Bill
Tallahassee
O'Brien,
fight,
the Fighting Bill O'Briens.
the Fighting Bill O'Briens. Yep.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, they do. Oh, yeah, they do bring in Amir Johnson, offensive guard. They do bring him in. Uh,
Let's see. A former Alabama quarterback was named the starter for Boston College, and
oh
that's
yeah, he
Dylan
transferred there.
Lonergan.
Oh, he was. Um, Gosh, I don't. It
Don't
was
know.
like third, fourth string, right?
Yeah, no, like he never played. He completed
Oh,
5 passes for 23 yards at Alabama.
oh, okay, okay. Hmm. What do we think about Duke this year?
I think they'll be good. I'm excited to see Darian Mensah at Duke coming from Tulane. Had a great year last year. I'm really excited for that. What is that week 3 game at Tulane? That's going to be a homecoming for for Darian Mensah
It
there.
is,
So that'll be
huh?
fun to see.
There are
Uh,
very few teams that I'm going to be following as closely in the first 3 weeks of the season as I am Duke football. I
yeah,
mean, week two versus Illinois,
Illinois.
that's such an important game for the back half of the playoff field if it gets to that. Like, obviously, we
Illinois
know,
is ranked preseason like 12th, aren't they?
yes, because they return
Oh,
so much. Luke Altmaier is one of the best returning quarterbacks in college football. They
God.
return a decent amount on defense. And then they travel. Duke does to Tulane the following week. I mean, that's a fun 2 game stretch, and that will decide a lot of how we view Illinois, Tulane, and Duke as the
mm,
season goes forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trying to see who's all preseason ranked right now. So we got Clemson at 4 in the ACC. We got Miami at 10. We have SMU at 16. And that's it. So
Yep.
3 ranked teams.
Yep. 3 ranked teams.
I'm surprised. I thought Duke might be in the mix.
They received some votes. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know. I
Yeah.
think they'll be good. I have them going 9-3. I have them losing to Georgia Tech, Clemson, and North Carolina. So another 9-win season. But I could see them losing to Illinois and Tulane as well. So we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll definitely see on that. And last year, the Big 12 was that conference, that power conference that only had one playoff team. What would it, when I'm looking at the ACC schedule this year, I don't really see many scenarios in which they don't get at least 2 playoff teams. Like, I think that they're going to be a two bid league again this year. Um, just looking
Yeah.
at, yeah.
I mean, I think my top 4 right now are Clemson, Miami, SMU, and Georgia Tech is kind of my sleeper. They could disappoint me this year, but those are kind of the teams I'm looking at. And obviously, like you're really high on Louisville, they could make it in. SD's high
yeah.
on Louisville, they can make it in. So
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of options for this ACC conference.
Lot of open doors. And it does help that this is a conference that only plays 8 conference games. I know a lot of these teams still play Notre Dame. I know a lot of them have SEC rivals. But there's a lot of opportunity in the non-con to prove it against Big 10, Big 12 opponents. That other conferences probably don't have the chance to this upcoming year. And plus, I think the bottom half of the ACC is so bad that the top half can rack up a lot of wins.
That's true.
Yeah.
Wait, SD, how happy would you be if Florida State made the playoff this year?
I I don't know. You'll have to wait and see. But that would be
Would you buy
surreal.
a new plant for your office
I would buy a new plant for
and
my
name it
office
Mike
for
Norvell?
sure. For sure. And I would name it
Gus
Renegade.
Malzahn.
But
Yes.
SC, what if
I agree with you with the 2 team conference, especially if we do prove it against those SEC rivals.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. What do you think about um if if Florida State had to play Baylor this year? Who are you rooting for? What color are you wearing to the game?
Oh, I'm wearing garnet and gold to the game. I've been a Florida State fan my whole life. I went to Baylor because I had a scholarship. Um, but the Florida State was always the dream school. So I'm really proud to have a degree from Florida State.
Yes.
Yeah.
Darn and gold.
Forever.
Go Noles.
Go Knowles. Man, so as we're talking about our alma maters, so Florida State and Baylor. I think Baylor has the upper hand on Florida State going into this year, but
Yes.
yeah. And then
A way
Jacob.
stronger quarterback for sure.
Oh, yes, without a
At
doubt.
leaps and bounds. Yeah.
And then Jacob, Nebraska's, I feel like, in a similar boat as Baylor,
Yup.
like one of those programs with high hopes, coming off, a season with a lot of promise, good returning starting quarterback. Like,
This is Dylan Raiola Heisman season.
yo,
Oh,
whoa,
a hot
My bold
take.
prediction. I think he's going to find himself a seat in New York at the end of the year
Okay.
wow.
because Nebraska is going to go 10-2. They're going to be making
This
a
schedule,
bid for that Big Ten title game and potentially a playoff spot. And Dylan Raiola will be the one, at the front seat
Twisting
of
the
the train
trophy.
driving that. Yeah.
hmm, hmm,
This is going to be 1997 part 2.
Okay.
Coming off a down year in 1996. Well, we're not coming off a down year, but it's more like a down decade. And, Matt Rule, Dylan Raiola turning us around, Scott Frost as a quarterback, and Tom Osborne, that whole thing. 1997 part 2. Let's go.
2.
1997 was almost 30 years ago.
You weren't even born yet.
Hey. Yeah, I know. I love living in the past when I wasn't here. when I didn't experience the good old days of college football. It's okay. There's always YouTube videos.
There
Yeah,
is almost.
yeah. Well, I want to talk about my alma mater too. I mean, my undergrad didn't have football, but one of my grad schools, Duquesne, they do get to play at Pitt, little crosstown rivalry, and
Hey, are you going to
at
that game?
Akron. No, heck no. No. And then they go to Akron. I bet they win one of those games. Duquesne will beat one of either Pitt or Akron. Call it
It's
a
going to
ring.
be Akron.
Watch it
It's
be
going to be
Pitt.
Akron. Yeah.
They
That would
lose
be my
Akron.
bet. Were you at the Duquesne TCU game?
No, that was before my time. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So I remember because I had to learn how to pronounce it.
yeah. Duquesne. Yeah,
Duquesne.
Yeah.
Duquesne.
Quesney.
Went to a lot of Youngstown State games. That year they beat Pitt, but
Go
still,
Penguins.
yeah, but they still missed the FCS playoffs. Like,
Oh, wow.
man, there's just a lot of things, a lot of
Yeah.
questions. Yeah.
Hey, that's okay. Our alma maters are all going to be great this year. They're all making the college football playoff. Can you imagine Duquesne in the college football playoff?
You know what? If they beat Pitt and Pitt wins the ACC and Duquesne goes undefeated, they should get an invite. I'm sorry.
Like Jim Carrey said, so you're saying there's a chance?
There's definitely a chance. It was like that one year, didn't North Dakota State get 8 people poll votes? Like, it's like
I
that.
think so.
Yeah. It's
I was
same.
aren't they FCS?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like,
They'll
am I
find a
going
way.
crazy? But
They'll find a way.
okay. Okay.
What else do we need to hit on before we close out this fun little episode today?
I don't know. I feel like we hit on everything. I wanted to hear a rant from SD about Florida State, and we did.
Oh, thank you.
I wanted to hear her high hopes about Florida State, and we did. And then
We
we
did.
talked about everybody else, and we did our best on Conference USA. So I think it was all in a day's work.
Really great rundown of the show there, Jacob.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and if anybody in the comment section has any knowledge of Boston college football, please feel free to let us know. We clearly don't.
I feel like we need like a verb for our podcast. Like we traditioned today. We footballed. I don't know.
That's like at the end of like a kid's show when they're like, "Man, we really solved the mystery today," or something.
Yeah, because if we say we podcasted, I mean that's too on the nose. You gotta,
No.
We traditioned that thing, folks.
We
Thanks for
did.
watching and
We
listening.
did. We CFBT'd that thing.
Yeah, we did.
Anything else before we wrap up today, team?
Nah, fam.
All right. Perfect.
Brian, your
Okay.
eyes are really blue today. I just noticed that.
Oh, thanks.
Oh,
I think it's your shirt that brings it out. I don't know.
It is.
I'm gonna leave y'all.
Okay. Well, I think on that
On
note,
that note,
we're going to wrap up. Thank you so much for joining us for College Football Tradition. This is Conference USA and ACC preview. Let us know in the comments how we did. Let us know who you're high on, who you're low on. Feel free to continue following us on social media, CFB_tradition. That's Instagram. That's Twitter. We just got over 1,000 followers on Twitter, so continue to follow us. We love interacting with our fan bases. Next week, we will be hitting up SEC and Sunbelt with our colleague Noah. He's going to join us. He went to an SEC and Sunbelt school, two different schools in both of those conferences. So he's going to be able to join us for that rundown. But continue to join us, continue to follow us. We really, really appreciate it. For Dr. S.D. Hernandez and Jacob Vanderford, I'm Bryan Partika. This is College Football Tradition.